Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. Thank you so much for joining us today, where we're going to be talking about how to raise money to keep your community active. So today's session, we're running it in partnership with Sport England and also with the Bowls Development Alliance. So we should find that quite a few of you, as I can see from the chat, that is evident, are joining us from Bowls clubs today, which is brilliant. So we're going to have a bit of a tailored focus on how you could raise funds for your Bowls project, or maybe you're a community group or maybe a village hall that are looking to raise money to actually bring bowls as an activity into your spaces. Maybe you're just joining us as a community organisation looking to see how you can raise money to get people active in your community. We have allowed 60 minutes for this session, and that does include a Q&A at the end. So please do make sure that you use the chat box. I've popped a few messages in there already, and put any questions that you have for any of our panelists today, and we can make sure that we answer those as we go along. And then we've allocated some time as well towards the end, so we can make sure that we wrap all of those questions up as well. We've been joined today by Lucy and Becky, who are part of the case officer team of the Movement Fund representing Sport England. And we've also been joined by two of our wonderful, successful project owners as well. So they'll be able to talk through their projects, what they found difficult, what they found easy, and maybe some of those additional benefits that we will look at when we're talking about crowdfunding. The whole session is live, however, it is being recorded. So we will make sure that we send a replay out to you as part of a follow-up email. We'll also make sure that we include all of the different resources that we talk about today. So there'll be lots of different links and things that you can click through and look at any of the resources to kind of get you started on this fundraising journey. Okay, so crowdfunding in a nutshell then. Some of you, the concept of going out to your community and raising funds won't be new to you at all. You could already be doing this at in-person events, so hosting fundraising events at your premises or within the community. You might even already embrace digital fundraising. So you might have used our platform, you might have used other platforms to raise money from your community, from supporters or your crowd, as we like to refer to it, in this way. Crowdfunder UK is in essence a digital fundraising platform. The way that we differ ever so slightly from some of the others that you might be aware of is that we have a few different kind of unique selling points, if you like, USPs. One of which is that you have the ability to offer rewards on your page, and we'll talk about what those are a little bit later. And the other thing is that we work with different partner organisations such as Sport England to offer match funding opportunities through a crowdfunding campaign. And we'll look again in more detail as to the offer from Sport England and just how you can access that as part of a fundraising campaign with us. So in terms of the process, first and foremost, what you would need to do is set up an account with us, and that is a free to access account. I would recommend that everyone on this call goes away and just starts the process of setting that up and actually getting familiar with how the kind of site and how that works. You can then go on to, if you wish to, draft a campaign page, and that can sit within draft mode until you're ready to launch it. But it's a great way to just explore and get a feel for how the site works. Once you've set up your crowdfunding page, you then would need to spread the word. So you need to go live with your campaign, and that sits public facing on our website. You share the link to that page with your friends, your family, your club members, and your broader and wider community. And people would need to make digital donations via that crowdfunding page. There's lots of help and support available to help you to do that effectively and successfully. So please do engage with us. And at the end of your campaign, you will receive a payout direct to your nominated bank account, and that's normally within 5 to 7 days. If you have listed rewards on your page, then you would need to obviously deliver upon those, and we can talk about that in more detail as well. It can be a really great and quick way to access funding, which can be really, really vital depending on what your needs are. Okay, so why would you raise money in this way? Well, there's a few things which would be additional benefits, if you like, to purely a financial raise. So you can see some of these on the screen at the moment. Because this is raising money in a very public facing way, It can feel a bit overwhelming. It can feel a bit daunting. It might be unfamiliar compared to things like, submitting grant applications, for example, or kind of doing in-person fundraising events. However, some of the lovely benefits that come along with it are things like building awareness around what you're doing, being able to reach out to a wider audience. So maybe through things like having interesting rewards that might resonate with a wider community, building advocacy as well. So the fact that you might have those conversations with local businesses about rewards, for example, or you might have a conversation with the local newspaper or radio station to be able to promote your campaign on your behalf. That will build advocacy when people start to engage with what you're doing and start kind of talking about your wonderful project, your great organization, and that helps to build and foster some really strong connections. You may well end up learning some new skills, and we're on hand to help you and obviously upskill you where necessary so that you can be successful. And of course, there's that extra funding offer as well. So we do work with both regional and national partners up and down the country who will potentially have pots of money available for eligible projects. Hopefully, you all fit within that bracket with Sport England, but we do also have other opportunities available. And you can receive match funding from more than one of our partners, okay, on a campaign. So it can be a great way to boost the amount that you're raising. So why does crowdfunding work for kind of sports organizations and physical activity? You've actually got a lot of the things that are required for a successful crowdfunding campaign already at your fingertips. Things like having a ready-made crowd, especially if you're already delivering that program of activity. You will have people who are already engaging with you with a shared passion. So that's really key. You may well have a team of people around you, whether that's fellow volunteers, whether that's people within the organisation, whether that's members or people participating in the physical activity that you deliver. Quite often, sports organisations are quite pivotal with their communities and they will be known. What we found, though, which is really interesting, is that sports clubs and organisations are known within their community, but even they will have a kind of that refreshing feedback from the wider community who might not have understood just the level of community impact that these organisations were having already. They might not realise that actually the local sports club is actually set up as with charitable status. Maybe they thought it was actually, a kind of limited company or somebody that was making, profit, and it wasn't kind of going back into the community. So there's lots of different ways that you can actually talk about what you do, who you are and what you do, which might actually be an eye opener to your wider community. And it does almost give you an opportunity, which again can feel quite scary, but it's definitely worth it. Give you an opportunity to connect with people outside of your core network. So outside of your kind of existing memberships, outside of people who are knowledgeable as to who you are and what you do because they engage with you on a daily basis or fortnightly basis, whatever it might be, but actually putting you to task to go out and actually tell your story to those people who might not be as clued up, but could be a really pivotal member for supporting you. Maybe they want to engage with you going forward. Chances are you'll be able to run some fundraising events potentially as well. And you will have networks around you, whether that again is utilizing your existing membership or your existing partnerships. Maybe you already have sponsorships, maybe from the local business community, for example. And of course, highlighting that community impact is really, really strong and really important throughout everything you do, whether it's your campaign page or your promotion. We mentioned the match funding opportunity, and somebody who is incredibly expert about the Sport England opportunities is the wonderful Lucy Gola. Lucy has worked with us for years now on various funds, and we're going to be discussing the Movement Fund today. So Lucy, are you there, please?
I'm just coming in with my video. So, yes, hi, my name's Lucy. My primary role is working on the investment helpline. So, it might be that we've got people on the call today who have spoken to us before. I am one of a team of 5 of us who are on the helpline. So, we may be in touch with you on email or phone call. Another part of my role is, as Zoe already mentioned, is a case officer. So I'm here supporting clubs and organisations who have been awarded a crowdfunding pledge, and we help them on that process of getting their page set up, accepted, and all of those kinds of things. So we're here to answer any of your queries along that pathway. So as Zoe's already mentioned, the Movement Fund is an extra funder on the crowdfunding site. You could receive up to £15,000 for your project. That could be as a grant, or it could be as a pledge towards a crowdfunding page. Now, some projects aren't going to be as much as that. Some projects might be a bit less, some projects might be a bit more. We have supported projects which are related to facility improvements, equipment. I think what is really key with any application is ensuring to us that you've explained why there is a challenge for people becoming active. Yes, we want to support your existing membership and your existing participants to take part, but we also want to help you create sustainability for the future. Think about your future members, bringing more people on board. That could be working with different groups or partners around the area. It could be youth clubs, it could be local schools, those kinds of things. Now, the Movement Fund does have funding priorities, so there are particular audiences that we want to support more than others who perhaps may have a greater challenge to taking part in physical activity. So this might be families on lower incomes. It could be those with a long-term health condition. It could be those from a more culturally diverse community. It could be unpaid carers. I think what it's important to say is that this list on screen is that isn't the only list. If you have anything outside of that, where you know people are dealing with a challenge to getting active, explain that to us. So it's not prescriptive. We want to know how the people that you're working with, how are they struggling to get active? And it might be that we can support you within that process. So we go on to the next slide. Thank you. So with any application to Sport England, some of you may have come into us before when we had our small grants open. So the process is very similar as it is now for the Movement Fund. So we have a link to start an application online from the Sport England website. And at that point, you will complete your application and we will then assess that application. And depending on what the project is, the aims, who it is you're trying to support and what it is you're actually applying for the money for, we may well offer you a grant, but we could also offer you a contribution towards a crowdfunding campaign, which is what we're here to talk about today. Now, if you've already made the decision that you want to crowdfund, as you feel this is the best option for your club at this point in time, because you want to also make, I guess, a bigger use of your local community, you want to promote what you're doing as well. A crowdfunding campaign can do all of those things. It can help you make better connections. It can help you with promotion, all of the things that Zoe's just mentioned. A crowdfunding campaign can help you do that. And you can then be matched with us as an extra funder through that crowdfunding page. If you've started it and you're in draft, you'll be asked to select different priorities and who you're working with. And that will then trigger who potentially you could get hold of, as in the extra funding, and that would be the Movement Fund. So that will then allow you to apply to us, and there'll be a few questions that you answer. So there is still an application form element to it, explaining how what you are wanting to raise for will meet the priorities of the Movement Fund. So it will say, who is this for? What are you trying to do with this? How is this going to combat some challenges? And how do you propose to do it? So at that point, you might be able to include a delivery plan. You might be able to include some costings, a little budget table, things like that. And we will then assess that, and we will come back to you with a decision as to whether we are able to contribute to your crowdfunder. And you could receive up to 50% of your total project cost, up to a maximum of £15,000. So it entirely depends on what your budget looks like, what project is it that you're working towards. It could be improvements to your pavilion. It could be improvements to the green, it could be equipment, but those are all things which technically are eligible under the Movement Fund. We just need to understand more about why you need it and what difference it's going to make to getting more people active.
Fabulous. Thank you, Lucy. In terms of specific questions about eligibility, we will share the contact details for the Sport England Movement Fund team. Are people able to contact the team directly to talk through any specifics about projects?
Absolutely. But our funding helpline, you can contact us on the 03458 508 508 number, which is on our website, or you can come through to movementfund@sportengland.org, and we can chat to you in that way as well. So if you've got specific projects and you just want a bit of a steer, we can help you with that.
Amazing, thank you. And Lucy's sticking around for the Q&A at the end, so please do pop some questions in. I've seen that we've had John pop a question in there, and Becky, who's with us today, has answered, but it's a great question, so we may well bring that into the room at the end. But do pop any more questions in there. Thank you, Lucy, and we'll come back to you in a little bit.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're often asked about the pledge side of how it works. So let's just take for a moment that you've been approved for the Movement Fund as part of your crowdfunding campaign. How is that going to appear on your page, and how are you going to secure that funding as part of your fundraising activity? So first and foremost, you will have an approval kind of letter from Sport England, and that will outline how much they will be contributing towards your target, so towards your crowdfunding campaign. You will go live with your campaign and you'll start promoting that to your crowd, so to your potential supporters. We always recommend that you start that quite small, so start very close to your organisation, so friends, family, people that you're working with kind of day to day, and bring in some of those early donations before you start promoting out to a wider audience. That's going to help you to build momentum right from the beginning, and that's going to help you to kind of carry that momentum throughout the course of the live campaign. You do have a milestone that you need to reach in order to unlock the pledge from Sport England. So you need to raise 25% of your initial target, and that is the target that you've agreed upon with Sport England. You've put that into your application, and you've actually put that into your campaign page as well. You're in complete control of what that target is. You need to raise 25% of that target from at least 25 individual supporters. So 25 members of your community making donations onto your page. Once you've achieved that milestone, you will see a pledge from Sport England land on your page. And all of a sudden, the amount that you've raised will leap up by the Sport England pledge. You will then have to carry on crowdfunding until you reach 100% of your target, and that will secure everything that you have raised and also make sure that you secure that extra funding pledge from Sport England too. Now, if for whatever reason you still have some time left on your crowdfunding campaign, you can always carry on raising money into something that we call a stretch target, and that just allows you to overfund your project. So that is an additional goal that you can set above and beyond that initial target. And that might be for all of those things that aren't a necessity to getting your project off the ground or to buying those bits of equipment, but it would just give you a little bit of a buffer, or maybe some money to do some promotion, marketing, all of those types of things, if they're not kind of vital to that initial amount, initial project raise that you're trying to get. We've mentioned rewards a few times, and the reason for that is what we have found, especially within sports organisations, is adding rewards onto your projects can actually boost the amount that you're raising by around 30%. Okay. And the reason that it does that is it gives you, as project owners, a really good narrative, a really good promotional tool, if you like, to go out to your potential audience. It gives you a way to strike up conversations with different areas of your community. So the business community is a great place to start when you're thinking about sourcing rewards. And you can see some examples here on the slide, everything from a fresh fruit box all the way through to kind of team building afternoon. So things that actually this club has got capacity to offer. So things like team building. They also did like a barbecue event as well. So think what you can deliver, or you can kind of GIF, if you like, that you have capacity to do so, but also reach out to your audience and your community to see if you can source some rewards. A reward in its purest essence is a benefit of some kind in return for a financial contribution. So, what you're aiming to do is have a very varied and varied in terms of its selection and varied in terms of its price points, offer of rewards. And let's just say, looking at that garden centre voucher, what would be great? They've listed this for £25, which is absolutely fine. What might have been more beneficial was to list that at £20 or even £15. So actually, myself as a supporter, I'm getting a £25 voucher to spend at the garden centre, and I've only actually paid 15 or £20 for it. So all of a sudden, it's incentivizing me to give to your campaign. So it plays two things: incentivizes people's giving towards your campaign, and also gives you opportunity to promote your campaign and to have that kind of mutually beneficial marketing between you and local businesses as well. The other thing that's key is thinking about how you connect with your audience. So this is something that we call kind of network mapping. So in the early stages, in the planning stages of your campaign, you really want to think about who your potential audience is, so who your potential supporters are, and how you are going to interact and communicate with each of these kind of sections of your audience. So the best thing to do is to break that down into segments. So you've got a clear understanding of who falls within each of these groups. And you might have even more groups on top of this as well, but this is just a bit of a snapshot. So things like friends and family, maybe local educational venues, maybe local businesses. It could be other groups that you work with or partner with, collaborate with. For each of those different groups, you want to have a good list of people within that you can contact. And that could be picking up the phone, that could be dropping an email, that could be, a WhatsApp chat, whatever it might be. Try and vary that communication so that it's the style of communication that best suits that group of people. For example, if I was running a project and I wanted to communicate with my friends and family, I'd probably pick up the phone or have an in-person conversation. I probably wouldn't just send them a newsletter when they're not an existing member of what I'm doing. And it seems quite formal for them to receive a newsletter from me, and it might not resonate. Whereas actually me talking about what I'm doing from a personal perspective is going to resonate better with them, and they'd be more likely then to support me. So how you tell your story does matter, and how you interact with each group within this network map, and always keeping people in the loop. So making sure that you're keeping up that communication with them as well throughout the course of what you're doing. So this is just a little snapshot again of a network spreadsheet. So it's a good idea when you've done that exercise to develop something like a spreadsheet that you can actually keep on top of that promotion and on top of that communication. It just allows you to be reactive throughout the course of the campaign without having to think, who have I spoken to? Where are we with this communication? Has anybody gone and spoken to local businesses, or have we been to the school? Having a way to kind of keep ownership of that, having eyes on that is going to make it that much easier for you. So just listing your potential audiences, how you would communicate with them, and then maybe a status update. So what have you done so far? What is yet to happen? So just an example, looking at the primary school, the idea is that you're just going to go and have a conversation. You might talk about doing a fundraising event with them, and you're hoping it's going to go out into the PTA WhatsApp group and maybe an email. And you can see here in the status that that conversation has happened, and that there's a fundraising day that's being arranged. So that status would be updated to let people know who are working on this, that actually we've done the fundraising day and we have raised X amount of money. And that just keeps everybody who's working on the campaign with you in the loop as to what you're doing. And it does making it a lot easier to keep all of that admin kind of in one place, and it saves the questioning and the wondering as to what's going on with it all.